I got the gun.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee with a Kick. Normally, the point of the show is to talk about some of the action movies that I've seen that are underappreciated, underrated, or forgotten about. But the video I had planned for this week didn't end up working out because I ran into some issues, but I still wanted to make a video for this week. So I thought that for this week's video, I would go through my top 10 favorite action movies of all time. Now, some of these are gonna get their own episodes because I do feel they're underrated, but some of these I feel are just rated, so I'm going to talk about them here. So without further ado, in no particular order, here are my top 10 favorite action movies. First on the list, we have Streets of Fire, which is probably the most recent addition to my list of favorite movies of all time. I first saw this movie in college in a class that I took on action movies, and boy, let me tell you, I was immediately hooked. It has everything I love: explosions, neon, rock and roll, and Willem Dafoe wearing weird leather suspenders. What else could you want? I won't talk too much about this movie since it is getting its own episode, but I can't recommend Streets of Fire enough. If you are able to rent it and you haven't seen it, I recommend doing yourself a favor and watching this beautiful movie. Next up, we have Fast 5. Now, I am a huge fan of the Fast franchise, so it was a really hard task to kind of pick one of the movies to put on this list. The heist they pull off at the end is amazing. It's probably the best in the series, and it's the first film to introduce Dwayne the Boulder Johnson, and it has this line in it.
This is Brazil.
Which, I mean, come on, that's cinematic gold. This is the movie where the Fast and Furious franchise I feel really hit its stride, so if you're gonna watch one of these movies, I recommend you start with this one. Now, The Raid is a movie that gets tossed around a lot in action movie circles, so I feel like it's not totally underrated, hence why it's probably not getting its own episode. But that doesn't mean it isn't a killer movie. It's the first movie that I saw that really got me into martial arts, and to this day, it's still probably one of my favorites. Well, I mean, it's on this list, so it is my favorite. It's brutal, it's breezy, and it's probably one of the tightest movies I've ever seen. Probably not for the weak-stomached among us, but for me and for action fans alike, it's the kind of movie that you can go back to over and over again.
I didn't come here to kill.
Man of Tai Chi is one of those movies where it honestly surprises me that more people haven't seen it. It's the only film directed by Keanu Reeves, the most perfect man in the world, and it has him playing against type as this very weird villain named Donica Mark. Yeah, his name's Donica. I don't know what kind of name that is either. It has great martial arts, a really interesting story, and it's just a really great movie. Again, this one's getting its own episode, but man, I love this movie. Come on, man. It's probably the best movie ever made. What? What do you want me to say? Now for the least controversial pick of all time, Terminator 2. Again, what can you really say about this movie that hasn't already been said? It's Arnie at his best, it's got some of the best special effects in the entire Terminator franchise, and it's honestly really a shame that a lot of the other Terminator movies don't match up to it. Except for Dark Fate. Have you guys seen Dark Fate? That's a good movie. Like, I'd heard it was a good movie, but when I saw it, I wasn't expecting it to be so good. I mean, come on. It was like the best movie of last year. I mean, I don't know. The Matrix is one of only 3 movies that I consider to be absolutely perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. It's perfect. I'd kiss it if I could. When I was making this list, I knew I had to include a Bruce Lee movie. I love all of Bruce Lee's films, except for that weird one where they used real footage of his funeral. good. But I picked Enter the Dragon because it's the first one that I saw, and man, is it just a good movie. It has great moments in it, the kung fu is amazing, practically every frame of this film is iconic, and the score is just banger after banger. Go watch Enter the Dragon. It's on Netflix. For God's sake. Again, I could have picked any of the Mission Impossible movies to be on this list, but I had to go with Fallout because it's just an amazing movie. I saw this in the theater with my roommate, and I have not had that much fun in the movies in a very long time. It is a pulse-pounding film from start to finish, and it has probably one of the best openings to a movie that I've ever seen. If you're gonna watch a Mission Impossible movie, watch this one.
El Mariachi.
El Mariachi is probably most famous for being Robert Rodriguez's first movie, and it was famously made for like, I don't know, like $2 on a bag of corn chips. But I think a lot of people forget that it's actually just a really amazing movie. It has a really great atmosphere, it's got a really great score, a lot of the shots are iconic, and it's just a really amazing movie overall. It's probably one of my greatest cinematic inspirations, and I've used a lot of references to it in a lot of my own short films. So that's my list of favorite action films. Obviously, I couldn't include all of my favorites, or this would be 10 different videos, but I hope you enjoyed this video. What are some of your favorite action movies? Let me know in the comments down below. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, maybe subscribing down below, leaving a nice comment as requested before. I make videos like these every so often, so thank you so much for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go back to training to take revenge on the man who murdered my wife.